The philosophical scripture, the Discourses, is brought to you by not a prophet org, the place on the internet to find spiritual guidance powered by artificial intelligence. Chapter 4. To those who are desirous of passing life in tranquility. Remember that not only the desire of power and of riches makes us mean and subject to others, but even the desire of tranquility and of leisure, and of traveling abroad and of learning. For, to speak plainly, whatever the external thing may be, the value which we set upon it places us in subjection to others. What, then, is the difference between desiring to be a senator or not desiring to be one? What is the difference between desiring power or being content with a private station? What is the difference between saying, "I am unhappy, I have nothing to do, but I am bound to my books as a corpse," or saying, "I am unhappy, I have no leisure for reading"? For as salutations and power are things external and independent of the will, so is a book. For what purpose do you choose to read? Tell me, for if you only direct your purpose to being amused or learning something, you are a silly fellow and incapable of enduring labor. But if you refer reading to the proper end, what else is this than a tranquil and happy life? But if reading does not secure for you a happy and tranquil life, what is the use of it? But it does secure this, the man replies, and for this reason I am vexed that I am deprived of it. And what is this tranquil and happy life which any man can impede? I do not say Caesar or Caesar's friend, but a crow, a piper, a fever, and 30,000 other things. But a tranquil and happy life contains nothing so sure as continuity and freedom from obstacle. Now I am called to do something. I will go, then, with the purpose of observing the measures which I must keep, of acting with modesty, steadiness, without desire and aversion to things external, and then that I may attend to men, what they say, how they are moved, and this not with any bad disposition, or that I may have something to blame or to ridicule, but I turn to myself, and ask if I also commit the same faults. How then shall I cease to commit them? Formerly I also acted wrong, but now I do not, thanks to God. Come, when you have done these things and have attended to them, have you done a worse act than when you have read 1,000 verses, or written as many? For when you eat, are you grieved because you are not reading? Are you not satisfied with eating according to what you have learned by reading, and so with bathing and with exercise? Why, then, do you not act consistently in all things, both when you approach Caesar and when you approach any person? If you maintain yourself free from perturbation, free from alarm, and steady, if you look rather at the things which are done and happen than are looked at yourself, if you do not envy those who are preferred before you, if surrounding circumstances do not strike you with fear or admiration, what do you want? Books. How or for what purpose? For is not this a preparation for life? And is not life itself made up of certain other things than this? This is just as if an athlete should weep when he enters the stadium because he is not being exercised outside of it. It was for this purpose that you used to practice exercise. For this purpose were used the halters, the dust, the young men as antagonists, and do you seek for those things now when it is the time of action? This is just as if in the topic of assent, when appearances present themselves, some of which can be comprehended and some cannot be comprehended, we should not choose to distinguish them, but should choose to read what has been written about comprehension. What then is the reason of this? Reason is that we have never read for this purpose, we have never written for this purpose, so that we may in our actions use in a way conformable to nature the appearances presented to us. But we terminate in this, in learning what is said, and in being able to expound it to another, in resolving a syllogism, and in handling the hypothetical syllogism. For this reason, where our study is, there alone is the impediment. Would you have by all means the things which are not in your power, be prevented then, be hindered, fail in your purpose? But if we read what is written about action, not that we may see what is said about action, but that we may act well. If we read what is said about desire and aversion, in order that we may neither fall in our desires, nor fall into that which we try to avoid. If we read what is said about duty, in order that, remembering the relations, we may do nothing irrationally nor contrary to these relations. We should not be vexed in being hindered as to our readings, but we should be satisfied with doing the acts which are conformable, and we should be reckoning not what so far we have been accustomed to reckon. Today I have read so many verses, I have written so many, but today I have employed my action as it is taught by the philosophers. I have not employed any desire. I have used avoidance only with respect to things which are within the power of my will. I have not been afraid of such a person. I have not been prevailed upon by the entreaties of another. I have exercised my patience, my abstinence, my cooperation with others, and so we should thank God for what we ought to thank Him. But now we do not know that we also in another way are like the many. Another man is afraid that he shall not have power. You are afraid that you will. Do not do so, my man, but as you ridicule him who is afraid that he shall not have power, so ridicule yourself also. For it makes no difference whether you are thirsty like a man who has a fever, or have a dread of water like a man who is mad. Or how will you still be able to say, as Socrates did, if so it pleases God, so let it be? Do you think that Socrates, if he had been eager to pass his leisure in the Lyceum or in the Academy and to discourse dally with the young men, would have readily served in military expeditions so often as he did? And would he not have lamented and groaned, "Wretch that I am! I must now be miserable here, when I might be sunning myself in the Lyceum"? Why, was this your business, to sun yourself? And is it not your business to be happy, to be free from hindrance, free from impediment? And could he still have been Socrates, if he had lamented in this way? How would he still have been able to write paeans in his prison? In short, remember this, that what you shall prize which is beyond your will, so far you have destroyed your will. But these things are out of the power of the will, not only power, but also a private condition, not only occupation, but also leisure. Now, then, must I live in this tumult? Why do you say tumult? I mean among many men. Well, what is the hardship? Suppose that you are at Olympia. Imagine it to be a panegyrus, where one is calling out one thing, another is doing another thing, and a third is pushing another person. In the baths there is a crowd, and who of us is not pleased with this assembly and leaves it unwillingly? Be not difficult to please nor fastidious about what happens. Vinegar is disagreeable, for it is sharp. Honey is disagreeable, for it disturbs my habit of body. I do not like vegetables. So also, I do not like leisure. It is a desert. I do not like a crowd. It is confusion. But if circumstances make it necessary for you to live alone or with a few, call it quiet and use the thing as you ought. Talk with yourself, exercise the appearances, work up your preconceptions. If you fall into a crowd, call it a celebration of games, a panegyrus, a festival. Try to enjoy the festival with other men, for what is a more pleasant sight to him who loves mankind than a number of men? We see with pleasure herds of horses or oxen. We are delighted when we see many ships, who is pained when he sees many men, but they deafen me with their cries. Then your hearing is impeded. What then is this to you? Is, then, the power of making use of appearances hindered, and who prevents you from using, according to nature, inclination to a thing and aversion from it, and movement toward a thing and movement from it? What tumult is able to do this? Do you only bear in mind the general rules? What is mine? What is not mine? What is given to me? What does God will that I should do now? What does He not will? A little before He willed you to be at leisure, to talk with yourself, to write about these things, to read, to hear, to prepare yourself. You had sufficient time for this. Now he says to you, come now to the contest, show us what you have learned, how you have practiced the athletic art. How long will you be exercised alone? Now is the opportunity for you to learn whether you are an athlete worthy of victory, or one of those who go about the world and are defeated. Why, then, are you vexed? No contest is without confusion. There be many who exercise themselves for the contests, many who call out to those who exercise themselves, many masters, many spectators. But my wish is to live quietly. Lament, then, and groan as you deserve to do, for what other is a greater punishment than this to the untaught man and to him who disobeys the divine commands? To be grieved, to lament, to envy, in a word, to be disappointed, and to he unhappy. Would you not release yourself from these things? And how shall I release myself? Have you not often heard that you ought to remove entirely desire? Apply aversion to those things only which are within your power, that you ought to give up everything, body, property, fame, books, tumult, power, private station. For whatever way you turn, you are a slave, you are subjected, you are hindered, you are compelled, you are entirely in the power of others. But keep the words of cleans in readiness. Lead me, O Zeus, and thou necessity. Is it your will that I should go to Rome? I will go to Rome, to Gyara, I will go to Gyara, I will go to Athens, I will go to Athens, to prison, I will go to prison. If you should once say, when shall a man go to Athens? You are undone. It is a necessary consequence that this desire, if it is not accomplished, must make you unhappy, and if it is accomplished, it must make you vain, since you are elated at things at which you ought not to be elated, and on the other hand, if you are impeded, it must make you wretched because you fall into that which you would not fall into. Give up then all these things. Athens is a good place, but happiness is much better, and to be free from passions, free from disturbance, for your affairs not to depend on any man. There is tumult at Rome and visits of salutation. But happiness is an equivalent for all troublesome things. If then the time comes for these things, why do you not take away the wish to avoid them? What necessity is there to carry to avoid a burden, like an ass, and to be beaten with a stick? But if you do not so, consider that you must always be a slave to him who has it in his power to effect your release, and also to impede you, and you must serve him as an evil genius. There is only one way to happiness, and let this rule be ready both in the morning and during the day and by night. The rule is not to look toward things which are out of the power of our will, to think that nothing is our own, to give up all things to the divinity, to fortune, to make them the superintendents of these things, whom Zeus also has made so, for a man to observe that only which is his own, that which cannot be hindered, and when we read, to refer our reading to this only, and our writing and our listening. For this reason, I cannot call the man industrious if I hear this only, that he reads and writes, and even if a man adds that he reads all night, I cannot say so, if he knows not to what he should refer his reading. For neither do you say that a man is industrious if he keeps awake for a girl, nor do I. But if he does it for reputation, I say that he is a lover of reputation, and if he does it for money, I say that he is a lover of money, not a lover of labor, and if he does it through love of learning, I say that he is a lover of learning. But if he refers his labor to his own ruling power, that he may keep it in a state conformable to nature and pass his life in that state, then only do I say that he is industrious. For never commend a man on account of these things which are common to all, but on account of his opinions, for these are the things which belong to each man, which make his actions bad or good. Remembering these rules, rejoice in that which is present, and be content with the things which come in season. If you see anything which you have learned and inquired about occurring to you in your course of life, be delighted at it. If you have laid aside or have lessened bad disposition and age habit of reviling, if you have done so with rash temper, obscene words, hastiness, sluggishness, if you are not moved by what you formerly were, and not in the same way as you once were, you can celebrate a festival daily, today because you have behaved well in one act, and tomorrow because you have behaved well in another. How much greater is this a reason for making sacrifices than consulship or the government of a province? These things come to you from yourself and from the gods. Remember this, who gives these things and to whom, and for what purpose. If you cherish yourself in these thoughts, do you still think that it makes any difference where yon shall be happy, where you shall please God? Are not the gods equally distant from all places? Do they not see from all places alike that which is going on? Chapter 5. Against the quarrelsome and ferocious. The wise and good man neither himself fights with any person, nor does he allow another, so far as he can, prevent it. And an example of this, as well as of all other things, is proposed to us in the life of Socrates, who not only himself on all occasions avoided fights, but would not allow even others to quarrel. See in Xenophon's Symposium how many quarrels he settled, how further he endured Thrasymachus and Polus and Callicles, how he tolerated his wife, and how he tolerated his son, who attempted to confute him aid to cavil with him, for he remembered well that no man has in his power another man's ruling principle. He wished, therefore, nothing else than that which was his own. And what is this? Not that this or that man may act according to nature, for that is a thing which belongs to another, but that while others are doing their own acts, as they choose, he may nevertheless be in a condition conformable to nature and live in it, only doing what is his own to the end that others also may be in a state conformable to nature. For this is the object always set before him by the wise and good man. Is it to be commander of an army? No. But if it is permitted him, his object is in this matter to maintain his own ruling principle. Is it to marry? No. But if marriage is allowed to him, in this matter his object is to maintain himself in a condition conformable to nature. But if he would have his son not to do wrong, or his wife, he would have what belongs to another not to belong to another, and to he instructed is this, to learn what things are a man's own and what belongs to another. How, then, is there left any place for fighting, to a man who has this opinion? He surprised at anything which happens, and does it appear new to him? Does he not expect that which comes from the bad to be worse and more grievous than what actually befalls him? And does he not reckon as pure gain whatever they may do which falls short of extreme wickedness? Such a person has reviled you. Great thanks to him for not having struck you, but he has struck me also. Great thanks that he did not wound you, but he wounded me also. Great thanks that he did not kill you. For when did he learn, or in what school, that man is a tame animal, that men love one another, that act of injustice is a great harm to him who does it? Since then he has not to him who does it. Since then he has not learned this, and is not convinced of it, why shall he not follow that which seemed to be for his own? Your neighbor has thrown stones. Have you then done anything wrong? But the things in the house have been broken. Are you then a utensil? No, but a free power of will. What, then, is given to you in answer to this? If you are like a wolf, you must bite in return and throw more stones. But if you consider what is proper for a man, examine your storehouse, see with what faculties you came into the world. Have you the disposition of a wild beast? Have you the disposition of revenge for an injury? When is a horse wretched? When he is deprived of his natural faculties. Not when he cannot crow like a cock, but when he cannot run. When is a dog wretched? Not when he cannot fly, but when he cannot track his game. Is then a man also unhappy in this way, not because he cannot strangle lions or embrace statues, for he did not come into the world in the possession of certain powers from nature for this purpose, but because he has lost his probity and his fidelity. People ought to meet and lament such a man for the misfortunes into which he has fallen. not indeed to lament because a man has been born or has died, but because it has happened to him in his lifetime to have lost the things which are his own, not that which he received from his father, not his land and house, and his inn, and his slaves. For not one of these things is a man's own, but all belong to others, are servile and subject to account, at different times given to different persons by those who have them in their power. But I mean the things which belong to him as a man, marks in his mind with which he came into the world, such as we seek also on coins, and if we find them, we approve of the coins, and if we do not find the marks, we reject them. What is the stamp on this Socrates, the stamp of Trajan? Present it. It is the stamp of Nero. Throw it away. It cannot be accepted. It is counterfeit. So also in this case. What is the stamp of his opinions? It is gentleness, a sociable disposition, a tolerant temper, a disposition to mutual affection. Produce these qualities. I accept them. I consider this man a citizen. I accept him as a neighbor, a companion in my voyages. Only see that he has not Nero's stamp. Is he passionate? Is he full of resentment? Is he fault-finding? If the whim seizes him, does he break the heads of those who come in his way? Why, then did you say that he is a man? Is everything judged by the bare form? If that is so, say that the form in wax is all apple, and has the smell and the taste of an apple. But the external figure is not enough. Neither then is the nose enough and the eyes to make the man, but he must have the opinions of a man. Here is a man who does not listen to reason, who does not know. When he is refuted, he is an ass. In another man the sense of shame is become dead. He is good for nothing. He is anything rather than a man. This man seeks whom he may meet and kick or bite, so that he is not even a sheep or an ass, but a kind of wild beast. What then would you have me to be despised? By whom? By those who know you. And how shall those who know you despise a man who is gentle and modest? Perhaps you mean by those who do not know you. What is that to you? For no other artisan cares for the opinion of those who know not his art. But they will be more hostile to me for this reason. Why do you say me? Can any man injure your will, or prevent you from using in a natural way the appearances which are presented to you? In no way can he. Why, then, are still disturbed, and why do you choose to show yourself afraid, and why do you not come forth and proclaim that you are at peace with all men whatever they may do, and laugh at those chiefly who think that they can harm you? These slaves, you can say, know not either who I am nor where lies my good or my evil, because they have no access to the things which are mine. In this way also those who occupy a strong city mock the besiegers. What trouble these men are now taking for nothing. Our wall is secure, we have food for a very long time, and all other resources. These are the things which make a city strong and impregnable, but nothing else than his opinions makes a man's soul impregnable. For what wall is so strong, or what body is so hard, or what possession is so safe, or what honor so free from assault? All things everywhere are perishable, easily taken by assault. And if any man in any way is attached to them, he must be disturbed, expect what is bad, he must fear, lament, find his desires disappointed, and fall into things which he would avoid. Then do we not choose to make secure the only means of safety which are offered to us? And do we not choose to withdraw ourselves from that which is perishable and servile, and to labor at the things which are imperishable and by nature free? And do we not remember that no man either hurts another or does good to another, but that a man's opinion about each thing is that which hurts him, is that which overturns him? This is fighting, this is civil discord, this is war. That which made Eteocles and Paulinus's enemies was nothing else than this opinion which they had about royal power, their opinion about exile, that the one is the extreme of evils, the other the greatest good. Now this is the nature of every man, to seek the good, to avoid the bad, to consider him who deprives us of the one, and involves us in the other an enemy and treacherous, even if he be a brother, or a son, or a father. For nothing is more akin to us than the good. Therefore, if these things are good and evil, neither is a father a friend to sons, nor a brother to a brother, but all the world is everywhere full of enemies, treacherous men, and sycophants. But if the will, being what it ought to be, is the only good, and if the will, being such as it ought not to be, is the only evil, where is there any strife, where is there reviling? About what? About the things which do not concern us. And strife with whom? With the ignorant, the unhappy, with those who are deceived about the chief things. Remembering this, Socrates managed his own house, and endured a very ill-tempered wife and a foolish son. For in what did she show her bad temper? In pouring water on his head as much as she liked, and in trampling on the cake. And what is this to me, if I think that these things are nothing to me? But this is my business, and neither tyrant shall check my will nor a master. Nor shall the many check me who am only one, nor shall the stronger check me who am the weaker. For this power of being free from check is given by God to every man. For these opinions make love in a house, concord in a state, among nations peace, and gratitude to God. They make a man in all things cheerful in externals, as about things which belong to others, as about things which are of no value. We indeed are able to write and to read these things, and to praise them when they are read, but we do not even come near to being convinced of them. Therefore what is said of the Lacedaemonians, lions at home, but in Ephesus foxes, will fit in our case also, lions in the school, but out of it foxes.